Hi, my name is Jason Courtmanche. I'm an English professor here at the University of Connecticut. I've been here almost a decade. I was a high school English teacher for 12 years before that, and I've spent a lot of my career with my foot in both worlds, working with high school students and high school teachers, as well as with undergraduate students at the university. I also teach teachers. One thing I did for many years as a high school teacher was I offered a creative writing elective, and I thought it was really important when I was early in my career to develop creative writing as elective because we do something really odd in the field of English, and that's we ask students to venerate literature, and we ask them to read and write about fiction and plays and poems and nonfiction literary essays. But then we very rarely give them the opportunity to produce those things themselves. And so I've always thought it was really important to provide that opportunity to students. So one of the things I'm going to be doing this summer, the course I'm going to be offering is called Heroes and Monsters, and we're going to be doing creative writing and writing essay and writing poetry together. Why Heroes and Monsters? The simple answer is that I think it goes to what Joseph Campbell talks about in terms of the monomyth, and that's the one story that we all tell in which each of us are the hero in our own journey. So I think that is just a very relevant, simple, foundational approach to take to any sort of creative writing class, especially an introduction. In terms of the genres, essay and poetry, I think essay is a great way to start with creative writing. There's an essayist named Philip Lopate, and he said that the essay is an enactment in the creation of the self. And I love that line. I think it's a really beautiful line. But I also think it goes really well to this notion of the one story worth telling, because we are, all of us, the hero in our own story. So writing the essay is that enactment in the creation of the self. Poetry, I think, pairs really well with essay because they are both nonfiction genres. They tend to be autobiographical in nature. I think practicing the lyricism of poetry also helps students to write better essays that are more elegant, more beautiful, less formulaic. I think essay and poetry are great genres for students to write because late adolescence and early adulthood is a time for exploring issues of identity. Philip Lopate also says that he thinks the essay is a middle-aged genre because you need to be old enough to have experience to write about, but I actually disagree with him on that score. I think late adolescence and early adulthood is a perfect time to be writing the essay or writing poetry for that matter and exploring the issues of identity that are so relevant in those two genres. The last thing I'd say is that this notion of personal identity, which is so central to those two genres in particular, I think is a very important term to look at. When we talk about personal identity, we think of our uniqueness, but I think the term is more nuanced and more complicated than that. Identity really has the same root as identical. We're not really looking at the uniqueness of ourself when we talk about identity. We're talking about the universality of ourself, that which makes us like everybody else. So you'll hear essayists talk about finding the universal in the particular, or finding all men in an individual man or woman. So I think that's relevant. And also when we look at the word personal, that has as its root persona, which is related to acting and drama and mask. And so when we talk about personal identity, we're really talking about the individual mask that we put on some sort of universal sense of self. And I think that's just a great starting point for writing and making that transition from high school to college. So that's what I'm going to be offering this summer as my course, and I hope you'll join me in Heroes and Monsters.